Plane crash. A chartered seaplane with 10 people on board crashed in the Mutiny Bay area of Puget Sound on Sunday. The body of one person was recovered, but there's been no sign of the other.
In the last 200 years, 20 planes, 50 ships, and hundreds of people have just vanished in a small area in the Atlantic Ocean. This is a part of the ocean called the Bermuda Triangle.
For nearly a century, the waters between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico have carried a reputation no ocean should have to bear. Ships vanish, planes lose contact mid-sentence, compasses spin without explanation. The Bermuda Triangle became less a place than a warning, a patch of sea sailors quietly agreed to respect. But the ocean floor beneath it has always kept its silence, too deep, too dark, too dangerous for the technology of the 20th century to reach. For generations, the seabed of the triangle remained a blank space on every map that mattered, a mystery hidden not by conspiracy but by depth itself. That changed recently. A coordinated deep-sea mapping effort, using next-generation autonomous drones capable of withstanding crushing pressure and near-total darkness, was finally sent down into one of the deepest and least explored sections of the Triangle's ocean floor. What came back was not a monster. It was not a portal. It was something stranger, a set of images and sonar readings that researchers are still struggling to fully explain. Debris fields with no clear origin, geological formations that don't match surrounding seabed patterns, structures that could be entirely natural or could be something else entirely. The footage has not been dismissed by the scientific community. It has not been confirmed as extraordinary either. It sits in that uncomfortable space between the two, and it is forcing a question few expected to be asking in the 21st century. What is actually down there? Cut to historical foundation. The Bermuda Triangle is a loosely defined region of the western Atlantic Ocean, bounded roughly by Miami, Bermuda, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. The term was popularized in the 1960s and 1970s through magazine articles and books, most notably Charles Berlitz's 1974 book, which compiled numerous disappearance stories. The region does include areas of significant depth, notably parts of the Puerto Rico Trench, one of the deepest points in the Atlantic Ocean. Maritime historians and the U.S. Coast Guard have long noted that the Triangle sees no more disappearances statistically than any other heavily trafficked stretch of ocean. Lloyd's of London, a major maritime insurer, has stated it does not consider the area more dangerous than other shipping lanes. Researchers attribute many historical incidents to a combination of severe weather, human error, strong currents, and the sheer volume of traffic through the region. Popular culture has proposed everything from methane gas eruptions to electromagnetic anomalies to, at the furthest edges, extraterrestrial or interdimensional explanations. None of these have been substantiated by peer-reviewed research, though the methane hydrate theory has received some genuine scientific attention as a possible explanation for isolated incidents, without being confirmed as a defining cause of the Triangle's broader reputation.
Despite decades of debunking, one fact remains stubbornly true. Large sections of the Triangle seafloor had simply never been mapped in high resolution. Depth, cost, and the sheer danger of deep-sea exploration meant that even as satellites photographed the surface of Mars in detail, parts of Earth's own ocean floor stayed effectively invisible. That gap became the target of a new expedition, not to chase legends, but to close a genuine data void. And when the drone's sonar and camera arrays began returning results, researchers noticed something they hadn't expected: irregular formations in a debris field that didn't immediately match known shipwrecks, geological faults, or previously charted material. It wasn't proof of anything supernatural, but it was enough of an anomaly that the research team paused before releasing a public statement, and that pause is exactly what has fueled speculation ever since. The expedition relied on autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with high-resolution sonar, low-light cameras, and pressure-resistant hulls capable of operating at extreme depths, technology that simply did not exist in earlier decades of triangle speculation. Alongside the raw footage, some research teams have begun using AI-assisted image analysis to help identify patterns in sonar data that would take human analysts far longer to process manually. It's worth being precise about what this technology can and cannot do. AI pattern recognition tools can flag geometric regularities, compare shapes against known shipwreck and geological databases, and highlight areas warranting closer human review. What AI cannot do is authenticate a discovery, confirm the origin of an object, or replace the judgment of trained marine archaeologists and geologists. Any AI-flagged anomaly still requires physical verification, sample retrieval, closer imaging, or expert on-site analysis before it can be called anything more than unexplained. In this case, the AI-assisted review flagged several formations for further study. Some were later identified as natural rock formations, shaped by centuries of current flow. Others remain, as of now, unresolved. As the footage circulated among researchers, reactions split. Some marine geologists urged caution, pointing out that unusual seafloor shapes are common in areas shaped by underwater landslides, sediment shifts, and volcanic activity. Others acknowledged that a small number of the formations didn't fit cleanly into any established category, not evidence of anything extraordinary, but a genuine gap in current understanding. Institutions involved in the expedition have been notably measured in their public statements, neither confirming nor dismissing the more dramatic interpretations circulating online. That caution, reasonable from a scientific standpoint, has, as it often does, been read by some corners of the internet as evidence of concealment. It's worth stating plainly, institutional caution is not the same as a cover-up. Scientists withholding a conclusion until data is verified is standard practice, not suspicious behavior. Any suggestion of a deliberate cover-up remains, at this stage, entirely speculative and unproven. The conventional explanation, the formations are natural geological features, likely shaped by underwater currents, sediment deposits, or ancient volcanic activity common to that stretch of the Atlantic. Deep-sea environments frequently produce shapes that look artificial to the untrained eye, but have well-understood geological origins. The alternative theory, some researchers speculate the debris field could include previously undiscovered shipwrecks, given the region's centuries of maritime traffic, and that the unusual shapes are man-made objects heavily altered by time, pressure, and marine growth. The skeptical position. Critics argue the entire story has been amplified far beyond what the actual data supports, that ambiguous sonar readings are being packaged as disturbing footage for attention, when in reality, this is simply what routine, incomplete deep ocean data often looks like before full analysis is complete. All three positions currently coexist, because the data itself has not yet produced a definitive answer. There is something quietly humbling in this story that has nothing to do with monsters or mysteries. Humanity has mapped the surface of the moon in greater detail than parts of its own ocean floor. The Bermuda Triangle's real secret was never a supernatural one. It was simply that the deep sea remains one of the last true unknowns on Earth. That gap between what we've explored and what we haven't is closing, slowly, expedition by expedition. And every time it closes a little further, it reminds us that mystery doesn't require the impossible. Sometimes it only requires the unreached. The drone came back. The footage was reviewed. Some of it was explained. Some of it, for now, was not. Nature has a way of looking strange right up until the moment someone finally gets close enough to understand it, and sometimes even after. So the question isn't whether something supernatural waits at the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle. The question is simpler and somehow harder to answer. What else is still down there that we haven't looked at closely enough to explain? What do you think the footage really shows? Let us know in the comments.